Okay, looks like we're live. Hello everyone, my name is Verte Arbusto, and this is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel on YouTube and Facebook. It is today's the 4th of August, and it is, it's like 6 o'clock in the afternoon right now. And I am making a quick video. This is part 2 on the observations of the Schumann Resonance Harmonics. Basically, what I wanted to do is do a video of what I'm looking at when I see the video. And this is less of a tutorial than it is of me just kind of going through what I would see normally. You know, this is what I'm looking at when I see the harmonics. Okay, so one of the viewers gave me a joke in the comments. I thought it was very cute. A panda walks into a restaurant, eats, shoots, leaves. Thank you. That's very cute. And I will. I'll have to make a mention of who this was in the comments because I forgot at the moment. Okay, so essentially, when I do these videos, I want to keep things short and to the point, and that's why I have like multiple parts to them. And there's the main reason that I like doing multiple parts is that I keep the video short so I can upload them. It takes a while. Sometimes it takes an hour for me to upload a 20-minute video, an hour or more, depending. Okay, so. So the first thing that I wanted to do in this video is to basically explain what Indiglo is. I use that expression, I have used that expression on a number of occasions, and I want to talk about what the Indiglo is. All right. Now, I think first thing it's important to note that when I do my when I do my reports on the Schumann Resonance Harmonics, I have it listed upside down. Okay. I report this upside down because, well, the rest of the world starts at 0. Okay, I'm going to scoot out here if I could. Okay. So on the left side here are the resonant harmonics. And I'm going to see if I can get a good... No, it's not letting me do that. Oh, of course it's not. All right. So this is upside down. Why I do this is because I have 0 down here at the bottom, and then I have 40 up at the top. Okay. So there's 2 reasons I do that. The first is because all of the rest of the world, including the other antenna makers and observers, have 0 at the bottom, and it goes up from that. Okay. The second reason that I do this is because the reporting dependencies start at 0 at the bottom, move up, and then go right. Okay. So to align myself with what the rest of the world is doing, as well as to align the Schumann with the reporting dependencies, I have 0 at the bottom, left, and then I have it going right, as I do here. All right. And I've showed the reporting dependencies with 0 at the bottom. Okay. So it's important to know what you're looking at when you're seeing this, and it can be confusing if you have 0 at the top and it's moving down. I realize that Tomsk does it that way, but Tomsk State University is, as far as I know, the only one that does that has the spectrograph with the 0 at the top. And it is confusing if you don't know what you're looking at. Okay. So Indiglo is, what I refer to Indiglo is this right here. Okay. A little bump there, this right here, this right there, that right there. Okay. So it's also seen in between that, like in between the resonances. You can see that. Okay. That is not the at-rest state of the atmosphere. That is not the at-rest state of the chart itself. The dark blue, almost black, you see up here, okay, dark blue, almost black up there, that is the at-rest state of the chart itself. So unless you're seeing a dark blue there is something going on. And these days, there is always something going on with the chart. Now, even if you're not getting this right, even if you're not getting a resonance in here, that does not mean that the resonance does not exist. I'm going to scoot in. Okay. So you see a little tiny bit of the frequency there. Okay. You see here that there is something there. Even though it's not obvious, it's not as evident and obvious as what's happening around it, there is still something in here. Okay. Now, this right here is a good indicator of something happening. All right. There's our line at 33. Okay. So this right here, dark blue, is the at-rest state. That's the only nothing, I mean really, not much going on the chart. But if you're getting this indiglow, this is a field. It's important to know that this is a field. This isn't nothing. This is one layer of the white against the dark blue of the background. So that could be, I'm looking at that as one single dependency, and that is probably the magnetics, the unattached magnetics that are kind of floating around in the atmosphere, or the frequency shift going back and forth between the different axes of the dependency. Okay, so I talk about the at-rest state of the chart, and that is the nothing the little bit that's going on here. The rest of everything else, if you're seeing a light blue, there is something going on there. Okay, let me scoot out a little. Out. There we go. All right. So you can see up here, there's a little bit going on there, a little bit going on, there is a little bit of nothing going on there, a little bit of nothing going on there. Okay, but here you see this spike go up, and one cannot say it's nothing when it is a definite time. You see all this going on at the same time. It's like a switch was kind of pressed. 7, this is 7 local time, so 7 minus 7, that's 0. All right, so that's UTC. That would be right at midnight UTC. Okay, 7 local time is basically midnight UTC. Okay. Okay, so a rule of thumb on this is the magnetics travel around the world. The magnetics move in a wave, yes, but propagate parallel to the surface of the Earth. Whereas the electrics, the amplitude is a spike, and that is going to happen locally. Okay, so I will, I made a video and I pointed this out before. I'm going to, I think, leave a link to where I'm getting this information, I am also going to be making another video of just this as an established fact from the antenna maker. In fact, I think the particular one I'm referring to is the satellite that measures the Schumann from outer space. And if you didn't know it, there's actually a satellite that measures the Schumann from outer space. So the person in that report that I'm talking about specifically is the one that mentions this. So it's important to know, like going from that as a rule of thumb, that these electrics, these spikes of electrics coming down, right here, here's one, where is it, over there, these spikes of electrics are generally happening locally. And when people look at the Schumann, this here Schumann thing, they're seeing a combination of the different dependencies. They're seeing the electric and the magnetic put together. But there's two different types of antennas that measure the electrics and the magnetics. The electrics are measured by an upright whip style antenna, the same one you would have measuring CB radio. Okay, so that is measuring only what is local, pretty much local, and we're talking about maybe within 50 miles. The rest of them, the magnetics, are able to travel around the world. And I think one definition of resonance is that a resonance, for our purposes, is a resonance wave is one that transverses the globe and catches up with itself and interferes with itself. Okay, so I have discussed the coded lines at 17. This is one at 17. I discussed the coded line at 25 that's missing here, not here anymore. And then I have discussed the coded line at 2 or 3 hertz. That's this right here. Okay. So I'm going to be doing more about those in the future, what I believe is causing the 2 hertz line, what is causing the 17 hertz line, and then what is causing the 25 hertz line. Okay. But I'm pointing out here in this video that there is a coded line. Well, we're calling a coded line at code, C-O-D-E, coded line at 17 hertz. That's been a mystery. Then there is these other ones that are here. Coded, if you will, a coded line, these right here. I'm saying they're broken. I'm not saying that they're coded. Okay. So I'm just in general, the broken line here at 2 and at 3, then the broken line that's here at 17. I've gone through those again. And I'm going to make another video on those of explaining just what those coded lines are from my perspective and what they could be caused from. Okay. Now, I talked about that in the first part of this set here. I'm going to talk here about the coded verticals. Not the coded horizontals, but the coded verticals. And we could be looking at the code as a broken line. We could be looking at it as an intelligent, how do I say this? An intelligent signal, okay? It could be a matter of a time schedule that something is running at. There's a number of reasons that it could be a code, and that's not necessarily like a Morse code. A schedule is a type of code because things happen at regular intervals. Okay. So whether or not you understand the code does not matter as to it being a code. And in many cases, I'm saying I believe on this, it's a schedule, such as the 25 hertz was a schedule. Okay, so you can show that, I think, in the horizontal. In the vertical, when it's dotted and coded, that's much more difficult. What am I talking about here is a coded line in the vertical. All right. Let me find you some. Okay. This one here is a good example. Okay. So this right here, that's what I'm talking about as the coded vertical. Let's drop that down some. Okay. So this right here is our coded vertical. Ding, 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 ding. It's coming down here. You can see it a little bit. I don't know how the vertical, because it's electric, how it would dot like that, except maybe fading in and out. Okay, you know, it seems kind of an obvious thing. All right, so the signal is getting weaker and stronger, but that's not quite what I'm seeing. I mean, it could be, couldn't be, I don't know. You see this, these are the dots, ding, ding, ding. Is it really fading in and out? It's a pretty strong line, okay. And we have more, here's a good one, here's a great one. Look at this one here, all right. See this right here? That's a coded line. This is another coded line over here. Now again, I'm calling it a dotted line, but it's too, the lines are too, the lines seem to be about the same size. Measure, they're all roughly the same size, okay. And then we go down here, even then still, fades in and out. They're not exactly the same size, no, but they do seem to get bigger and then shorter. Right. You can see that, roughly the same size, then it fades out. Right, but they're all roughly the same size, okay. So we looked at the coded horizontals. There's another one here. Okay. All right. So I'm not certain of what the significance of it is. I'm simply pointing that out. Okay. Now, at this point, I'm reading my notes, trying to figure out how I want to put this. What is an intelligent code? That's a question I posed. Again, if it's a train that we're catching, the code would be the schedule. Okay. If it's a wave, we could be catching it coming in and out of resonance, out of frequency. That's a thing. There is also what I have come to read was called the Duga Antenna. Okay. Boom, boom. All right, that was my neighbor. Thank you. Oh, driving that train high on cocaine. Okay. So the Duga antenna, this was a Russian antenna. This was in the 70s. Okay. I don't believe that they're still using it. They've decommissioned it. But the Duga antenna was they called it the Russian woodpecker. It's the Duga antenna. It's seen at 10 hertz. But it was a knocking sound. So you would see it in the same sense as these, the uprights. You'd see it at a repetitive pattern. And if it's man-made, if it's an antenna like HARP, if it's an antenna like the Duga antenna, you would expect to see regular intervals to it. Okay. So thin lines are local. Thin lines tend to be local because it's not a wide bandwidth. Okay. Now, if you look at this here, that is a bandwidth of maybe 5 hertz, probably not 5, but maybe 4 hertz range. This is the natural deviation of the resonant harmonics. This is not a thin line. This is a relatively fat line, and this is going to be traveling around the world. That is a resonant harmonics here. Whereas a thin line, like this, is not likely to be traveling around the world very far. It may have a lot of energy around it, but that is a line of sight. These thin lines, now you could say, well, that's not that thin, not as thin as that. However, this is, all right, this line is 7.8. So this one would be at maybe 5 or 4. This one probably isn't at 5, it's probably at 4. I'm sorry. Probably not at 4, it's probably at 5, I'm sorry. All right, so it's relatively thinner, okay? These are our harmonics. These are our harmonics. That's 7.8, that's 14.4, that's 21.8 or 22, I like to call it. You can see there's a ray. On all of these, there's a wave size. You can see there's obviously a wave size. That's not what this is. These are thin, dedicated lines. Okay. So, thin lines tend to be local. The bigger, fatter lines tend to be ones that are coming up worldwide. Okay. All right. So now, the next thing, this will be the last thing that I'm going to discuss in this video, is the mid-grade electrics. What am I talking about with the mid-grade electrics? Okay. I need to pause this for a sec. Hold on. Okay. Mid-grade electrics. What are mid-grade electrics? Okay. So the term mid-grade comes from when I pumped gas for a living. All right. So you have fuel that's what they will call regular or low test. Then you would have mid-grade. And then you have the high octane, which is high test. Okay. So I like having the idea of mid-grade as between the two, kind of, what do you call it, bookended, I guess, between the two of those, safely in the middle. Specifically, what I mean when I say mid-grade electrics are the yellow and the red mode, okay? Our modes again, one is white, mode 2 is yellow, mode 3 is red, and mode 4 is green. Okay, so when we see like green, green, what I'm calling green, 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 green on the chart is like this here. You have maybe some of that over here. Okay, maybe some of that. I'll call that green, green, green. Okay. Now, we have 12 dependencies, 12 reporting dependencies of 4 colors. We have potentially 3 whites, there's potentially 3 yellows, there's potentially 3 reds, and there's potentially 3 greens. So if you have high amplitude, high spike of amplitude, that's going to be a white, white, white. Generally, the amplitude and the magnetics match up. You'd expect to see the electrics and the magnetics equal. The standard Schumann theory holds the electrics and the magnetics work together. When the electrics are working separately from the magnetics, and the electrics are all working together, that is not standard Schumann energy. I pointed that out before, and it's important to understand that is not by what the equation tells us as Schumann resonances. Okay, so when I talk about mid-grade, getting back to this, mid-grade electrics, okay, you can see a little bit in there. It's not green-green. This is not green-green in there, okay? That's got some mid-grade. The colors of mid-grade electrics are pale orange, pumpkin, rust, blood color. If you've ever seen dried blood, it's a reddish kind of, not quite red, but it's like a dirty red, if you will. These are mid-grade electric colors. You have, again, 3 potential yellows and 3 potential reds. So some version of yellow and red, you see this right here, is a yellow tone, but it's not bright yellow. So pale yellow would be not quite mid-grade, okay? But I would be willing to consider it in there as part of it if it's part of a pumpkin patch, what I would call the pumpkin patch. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so we can see this. Center this. Zoom in a little more so we can see this. Whoop! I didn't like what you did there. What are you doing, camera? There we go. All right. I may not be able to get it too good. All right. All right. So This is what I'm calling mid-grade electrics. I love it. Look at this. All right. We'll just reflect on this for a moment. All right. So this submarine-looking thing here, okay, periscope up. This is all what I'm referring to as mid-grade electrics right here. Mid-grade electrics are sticky, what I would call sticky. Okay. Now, they're not floating down here. They're not floating over there, free floating. They are in line with what's happening here. I'm going to scoot out, I think, on this. It's interesting how the filter kind of keeps changing the color, and I don't like what it does there. There we go. I want it to keep in that green. I don't like it how it pales that. All right. So mid-grade electrics are sticky, and they tend to be amorphous in shape. I don't know how to explain this. The mid-grade electrics, you see it's hooked up to this line here. It's centered in that. Centered going this way, centered in that way. It's like a ball. It's a round kind of, that's what mid-grade electrics tend to do. It's not vertical, it's not horizontal, it's kind of free-floating in the middle there. The mid-grades would be like a ball. Wages World had mentioned a few times that there was this orange ball that were floating around, and I call that mid-grade electrics. Okay, so what we're looking at here are the various flecks of different color. Now, that right there is like a green-green. You see that little speck there is a green-green. Okay, so this right here is like a green-green with a darker green. Okay, these are green patches along this axis here. Okay, in the green mode, see we're already in green here. This is clearly defined line. Ding, 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 ding. That's a clearly defined line as the boundary of this. That's how we get the mid-grade electrics, as it's sticky to the electric, but it's floating in the field of the magnetics. All right. So you see this kind of yellowish, yellow, little reddish kind of tinge. Okay, orange. All right. And you notice in here that these are brown. That's legitimate brown. These are brown. Okay. What makes brown is green and red. Okay. So brown is green and red. Orange is made from red and yellow. Coral is made from red, yellow, and white. You can get pink. You can get some corals in there. Get a lot of different colors, and if you know how to mix colors, you can sort of figure out how a lot of this stuff is done, or how they get these. What do I call it? How to get the shapes, how to get these colors, figuring out the colors. All right. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about what I'm seeing here, but I wanted to describe the mid-grade electrics with a close-up of the components in there. This is more of a white and yellow mode in here, high amplitude, because it's along this way. Okay, but also high. It's caught in the magnetic field. So as it's coming down, there's this kind of white in the middle there. As it's coming down, it's getting caught up by itself, more of itself in the magnetic stream. Okay, and these magnetics are not really green-green mode. This is a lighter green of what the mode itself would be. But because this all is in a horizontal, we would look at that as like a green-green, but it's not quite. Like that's a green-green over there. All right. So I refer to the wefting and the weaving pattern that's caused by the two. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch, if you remember what those were. The two knobs. One's a horizontal, one's a vertical. Okay. So by the electrics, the amplitude is the vertical, and the magnetics are the horizontal. So by combining those two, the horizontal and the vertical, you get all kinds of interesting shapes like that. But it's not just the vertical. You have different widths. I don't even know how to say that. Widths. there's various widths of the signals coming in, and so the paintbrushes, if you look at it like a paintbrush, making this will give you different size shapes and configurations. Okay, so I make a mention of the wefting and the weaving. Okay, and you can see here, this is coming down. This is a largely white stripe that's coming down here that's in front of this one. I'll show you, in case you don't see. So this is our dedicated line at like 3 rather. Okay. But it's interrupted by this coming down. Yet, it's not interrupted there. This goes over, the horizontal goes over, it's under, over, looks like it's over. Okay. So they don't all weave evenly. This one here, this one here is an overlay of the one coming down. I mean, this is an overlay upon the one, the horizontal. Okay. So you can't really tell sometimes, but I'm wondering if, okay, and here's another example of it coming down on overlay, wefting and weaving. So it could be a pattern of it's an interference pattern, but in this case, is it an interference of the Earth acting like a stop, interfering with it in some way? The elasticity of the environment? I don't know. But these are, when I refer to the weft and the weave, this is what I'm talking about. That between the two directions, the vertical and the horizontal, we get these wefting and weaving patterns. All right. So that's one of the things I'm looking at when I see this. All right, so hopefully the music next door didn't bother this. I don't know, I'll have to see it when I do this, when I review it, and hopefully I won't need to make this over again. This is actually the second time I've had to make this video, and I think this one's better. Okay. All right, so I think that covers everything in this case that I had wanted to cover. I will leave fairly good notes of what this is about in the description section. Okay. All right. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, especially Wages World, and I will keep you in my prayers. I keep you and my family, keep you and your family in my prayers, and I thank you all for being here today. I've been shown a lot of love and a lot of support in doing this, and I've gotten a lot of comments from people